Your daughter wants to find Atlantis. It's a classic hook, but if you're running a BX game, the moment the party goes over the side of the boat, 80% of the rule book becomes a lie. You can't strike a match, you can't light your tender, you can't run away. And most importantly, you can't breathe. Now, you could just give them a necklace of adaptation and call it a day, but that's boring. That's modern superhero gaming. All right? In the tavern, we're talking about turning oxygen into a resource and light into a liability. Grab a drink, watch your pressure, and let's dive into the logistics of the deep. Now, first, let's solve the light problem without giving magic glowstones or continual light, which at the higher levels, that's what is what it is. But in a dungeon, the torch is your heartbeat. It's a 6-turn timer. Underwater, you need a torch analog that feels like a liability. Enter the Jellyfish Lantern. Hey, it's a reinforced glass globe filled with stinging bioluminescent sea life. It goes off a soft violet glow, but these things are temperamental. If a character takes a hard fall or gets slammed by maybe a giant crab, there's a 2 in 6 chance the jellyfish go dark from the shock. Suddenly, you're standing in total ink black silence for 1d10 rounds while the organisms recover. That's a game state change. That's panic you can't get from a magic item. Now, let's talk about the real ticking clock. Breathing. If you want that old school tension, you have to treat it like extra dimensional encumbrance. I like to give my players 3 ways to handle the oxygen tax, and all of them suck in a way that makes the game interesting. First, you have lung leaf. It's an alchemical swamp weed. You chew it, and for 1 hour, you can pull oxygen from the water. Simple, right? No. It's a massive stimulant. Once it wears off, the character is exhausted. Half movement. -2 to hit until they get a full night's sleep on dry land. You can survive the dive, but you're a physical wreck by the time you find the treasure. And then there's the air bladder. This is kind of like, I'll call it parchment punk. It's like fantasy steampunk. It's a leather bladder filled with air connected by a waxed hose to a copper mouthpiece, maybe a helmet. One bladder gives you 3 turns of air. But here's the OSR catch. Every bladder of air makes you floatier, buoyant, while every coin or treasure makes you sink. If you carry 10 bladders to stay down longer, you're bobbing like a cork and can't reach the bottom. If you fill your sacks with gold, you're an anchor. You can't get back to the top. Finding that neutral buoyancy is a real life skill check. And then finally, we have air pockets. When you design your Atlantis, don't make it all flooded. Use ancient airlocks. But don't make them safe zones. Make them stale zones. The air is 3,000 years old. It's thin. Maybe it's toxic. You can breathe, but you may be potentially taking 1 point of damage every turn until you can find a way to vent the chamber. It turns the safe room into a different kind of trap. Now, we also need to address the 3D logistical nightmare. In BX, we generally think in 2 dimensions. Submerged, the map is essentially a suggestion. Think about combat. You want to try to swing a broadsword underwater? The drag makes it a joke. If I'm running this, if it's a thrusting weapon, a spear, a trident, a dagger, you're fine. But if it's a slashing weapon or a blunt weapon, all right, you're at -4 to hit and you're doing half damage. The big two-handed sword guy is suddenly the most useless person in the party. He's got to find a harpoon or he's going to start punching fish. And what about the pressure? Your internal organs might be protected by magic or weed, but your gear isn't. Glass vials of potions, they may shatter under the pressure. Your map scrolls, well, unless they're written on shark skin vellum and sealed in wax, they're a soggy mess the second you hit the water. See, this is where the ref becomes that neutral arbiter of physics. You aren't being mean, you're just being honest about the environment. If you're building Atlantis for your daughter, like one of our viewers asked this question, don't make a castle that happens to be wet. Make it a place built by things that don't need up. And what I mean by that, I mean build ducts and vertical transit tubes. It should replace your stairs. If the players can't swim well because they're wearing plate mail to survive the monsters, well, they're stuck at the bottom of a 50-foot chimney looking up at the loot. And the monsters shouldn't just be sea goblins. Use things that utilize the 3D space. A giant octopus doesn't just bite, it drags you into the dark. It uses the pressure against you. It vanishes into the 3-dimensional ink. You want your players to feel like trespassers in a place where they simply do not belong. So, to the viewer who asked, don't hand wave the mundane. The mundane is where the drama lives. When you run this for your daughter, when you run this for her friends, show them the glowing jellyfish. Describe the sound of their own heartbeat being the loudest thing in the silence. Then, when they find the first heavy barnacle-crusted gold coin and realize they have to carry it back up through 200 feet of shark-infested water, that's when they'll realize they're playing a real adventure. Now, I've put together some deep-sea survival cheat sheets. There'll be a pinned comment to this video. And I want to thank the 225 plus minions of the tavern. You guys and gals, keep the lights on, even the underwater ones. If you're new here, join the community, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What is the one piece of gear your players forgot to bring to the sea crawl? Until next time, keep your feet dry, your jellyfish fed. God bless, and I'll catch you tomorrow.